Welcome to the Cup of Joe Show, where we explore the journey of recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. One story, one conversation, and one step at a time. I'm your host, Joe, creating a safe space for honest discussions about the challenges and triumphs of addiction and alcoholism. In each episode, we'll hear inspiring stories and uncover tools that make healing possible. Sobriety is not a one-size-fits-all journey, and you don't have to face it alone. Recovery is possible, and it's worth it. Thank you for joining the Cup of Joe Show. Now let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Cup of Joe Show. I'm very excited about my guest today, who we were just talking about before we started, came to me from a mutual friend, my friend Dave S., who actually his podcast his episode came out earlier this year. But my guest today is John C., who began his journey in sobriety September 24th, 2012, and hasn't looked back since. John is married to a fellow member of the program, and together they share a life grounded in recovery, adventure, and love. A proud father of 3 daughters, he also keeps busy with his 2 loyal dogs and a deep love for the great outdoors. Whether he's riding mountain bikes, cooking at the campsite, or traveling in his RV, he's always seeking connection with nature, with others, and with the program that changed his life. His story is a powerful reminder that recovery opens the door to not just freedom from addiction, but a life full of meaning, motion, and joy. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's get into it. How are you doing today, John?
Hey, good morning, Joe. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so glad you were able to do this. So tell me, what was it like growing up, John?
Let's see. Well, squarely Gen X. I'm like 52 years old, so I got to grow up in the 70s and 80s when growing up was awesome.
Yep.
Uh, we had unsupervised fun, and we're just turned loose. And what did they call it? Like feral children, and that's kind of how it was, you know. I grew up in a pretty uh, I don't know what seems like a kind of normal, if not somewhat overly religious home, with both of my parents. And I think the over religion of it didn't really begin to occur to me until later. Like as a little kid, school and church and home were just the very normal features of the week. Um, yeah, I mean, I had a pretty basic, normal American Southern childhood. I grew up in Georgia, around family, frequent contact with extended family, uh, pretty stable, normal home life, I think.
What did was there any noticeable addiction in your family, John, or was what was your kind of relationship or ideas about alcohol or drugs or anything like that?
That's an interesting question. So I come from a long line of alcoholics, but had no idea of that as a kid. Um, but I never saw alcohol when I was a little kid. Like, uh, and I remember this time, my riding in the car with my dad, and his car broke down, and we pulled over to the side of the road, and some like country boys stopped to see if they could help, and they were South Georgia country boys. And one of them had a bottle of Miller High Life beer that he was holding and sipping on. And it was the first time I had ever seen beer. And it was so foreign to me. I thought it was gasoline in that bottle for that for helping to fix the car or something. I must have been like 6 or 7 years old or something. But the idea that it would be beer was just such a foreign idea to me that it even when confronted with a bottle of beer labeled beer, it didn't register to me that this could possibly be beer. Totally separate from that. It would when did that change? I think, well, my parents got divorced when I was 12 or 13, and my mom began drinking. Like, and she drank scotch, uh, and wine, and that was the kind of the first encounter that I had really had with alcohol in my life up to that point. I guess maybe that's not entirely true. I think we had some relatives who, when we went to visit them, like my great aunts or whatever, they would play cards and sip whiskey, and their house was, um I don't know. I don't know that it really registered much with me, but I knew that it was real different. And they had this kind of shed in the backyard with a pool table and a stereo 8-track with some 8-track tapes. And I remember going back there and playing on the pool table and listening to the Kool and the Gang 8-track, and it was like party music, and the grown-ups were inside drinking whiskey, and I remember loving that, and thinking that it was cool and just like amazing, and somehow having some sense that these are things that I shouldn't be doing. I think like my Bible church people would not approve of this, but I think it's great. I want more of whatever this is.
So, and if I skip ahead too much, John, just let me know. But like, how do you remember? How old were you when you first felt the effects of alcohol?
I think 16.
Okay.
And it's kind of, I've learned in AA that this is not an abnormal experience, but even with a, how did it happen this way? I used mind altering drugs before I used alcohol. And I think it was, my mom remarried. She remarried a Army paratrooper, this airborne ranger gung ho commando guy. And at first that was exciting and cool, but it became kind of not cool to have this like first sergeant stepdad, um, kind of authoritarian figure who just like wants peace and quiet and is tired of these kids. So it got kind of not fun. And he was not amazing. And uh, and about that time, I'm kind of coming on to like music and rock and roll and sort of that kind of thing. We had moved to California where he had been stationed in the army, and I'm into surfing, and started to kind of put together this idea that like, and so the paratrooper, he drank beer nonstop. Like he was never without a Budweiser in his hand. And my mom had her scotch, and they were not cool. Like these are not like role model people in my life at all. This is my mom and her douchebag Army Ranger husband, and they're not cool. And I began to piece together that alcohol is for old douchebag people, and the cool people who you want to emulate, they use drugs. Motley Crue, drugs. Your parents, alcohol. And so it kind of formed this just like line in my mind that like that alcohol is not cool. That is for the old people. Like if you're cool, like drugs is what you want to do. And it would be, I was like 13, 14 years old or something like that when I'm having these thoughts and smoking my first cigarettes or whatever. It would be a minute before um, I did anything with that. But when given the opportunity, I wanted to smoke weed. I like tried to smoke weed and did not get stoned on weed. I'm just like, some older kid hands me a roach or whatever, and I don't even know what to do with it. But in the 10th grade, this guy in my biology class sold me a hit of acid for $4. It was like the best $4 I've ever spent in my life. And that was the first time that I've felt the effects of some mind-altering substance, and it absolutely blew my mind. It was like the most amazing thing I'd ever done. I got caught on the phone the next day calling him to try to get him to bring me more, and my mom heard me on the phone, like was listening in on the other line or whatever, and between her kind of panic freaking out and my attention seeking, this situation escalated to the point where that night I was in a intake appointment at a drug treatment center, which, if you're following the story, that's like the very first time that I got high on something. I'm at an intake appointment in treatment, and somehow these people, I guess out of like profit motives or whatever, thought, well, you need 30 days of inpatient treatment. And so I wound up staying at this treatment center for 30 days. And that was where I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous. And at that point, I had not had a drink of alcohol, or if I had, I hadn't been drunk on it. I hadn't had any. I think that I had not drank yet. This baffling and stupid feature of my story that's a little bit embarrassing, but it's funny. In AA, I have met other people about my age who had a similar experience. I guess parents were very permissive in the 80s, right up to the moment that drugs or Satan got involved, and then they just lost their minds and like did radical things like this. If you remember the 80s, you know what I'm talking about.
I did. I am. You are a man after my own heart. I grew up in the same in that same rail. I got caught with a joint roller that I had bought at a head shop in New Hope, New Jersey. I totally get what you're saying. So yes, I love that. So what happened after that? After you left the rehab, is it?
Yeah, so I tried to affect this personality change. I traded my goth clothes and combat boots for like khaki shorts and tennis shoes, and made an effort to like kind of fit in with the other kids at school and not be such a druggy weirdo or whatever. And I'm gonna like really try and go to school and do my work and get grades or whatever. And that lasted for a minute. I knew that, like, they told me about like aftercare, and I had to go to this kind of aftercare meeting every week, and they wanted us all going to AA. I didn't have any objections to AA. I liked AA. Like, we went to this AA meeting in the place every Sunday night, where some AA members brought a meeting into the place, and they made an impression on me. They were older than me, but and they were kind. They were inclusive. That wasn't a word yet. Like, we didn't. That's a word now, but back then that just wasn't a thing. In fact, people were very opposite of that. Like, and it was remarkable that older people. I'm a sophomore. They're seniors in high school and have cars and stuff, and they are seeking to like kind of bring me into their thing. And that was a foreign idea to me at that time. And then when I get out and start going to the AA meetings, I kind of liked it. I have access to adults who have interesting lives, and they're kind of messed up and interesting, and you can smoke cigarettes openly among those adults, and you can use profanity openly among those adults. And there was, as a 15, 16-year-old, whatever, there was something about that was just like cool, and like I felt like I was doing something neat, and I don't know, that lasted 4 or 6 months, but I'm not remotely convinced that I have alcoholism or any other real problem here. Just this vague sense that you need to not do drugs. And soon after that, like, I don't even remember when I encountered alcohol, but when I did, I drank it. I remember having 3 beers and feeling the 3 beer effect of alcohol, and it was like the best thing ever. And at once I was like, how did I think that this was for old people douchebags. This is like the best thing ever. And it's kind of allowed. Like, this isn't even illegal, like you don't even get sent to treatment or jail or whatever for this. This is amazing. And that was when I was about 16. And I think probably every day after that, I tried to have that experience again. And I don't know if I ever did, but that was the effort anyway.
So, did your I mean, I guess this is probably a loaded question to some degree. How did your drinking progress? Did how did?
So we had the my by this point, my mom had divorced the paratrooper. He had some legal problems and went away. And we moved to Athens, Georgia, where her mother was and where she had grown up. And Athens is the home of the University of Georgia. It is a college town, and I have discovered alcohol at about, I guess I was about 16 years old, or almost 16 or something like that. And um, began drinking whenever I could. I continued using drugs with it, mostly marijuana, LSD sometimes, um, and drank whenever I could, and then began to kind of like orient my life around drinking. And in Athens, that's easy, or it was in the 80s anyway, because every single night there's a keg party in someone's backyard. And there's a handle of liquor being passed around, and a group of people huddled in the corner smoking a joint, and a keg that is cold, like literally every single night. The bars are very accessible to underage kids, and soon I'm like hanging out in like the music scene is important, right? It's like it's of national significance at that time. And and so soon I'm like hanging out at the places where alcohol is served and music is performed, and going to see bands and my friends in bands, and staying out all night at nightclubs, and partying, and being the like young uh I'm the youngest one in the room most of the time. And like there's something like attractive and enticing about youth. And I'm surrounded by people who are 10, 15 years older than me, and the youngest one in the room. And some of them are kind of over it, not wanting like children present, but others are enamored by the whole thing and kind of take me under their wing and make me part of the scene there. And so it's kind of all, when in Bill's story where he talks about like his entry into the world of finance, and having some successes there, and being part of this important thing and people taking his advice to the tune of like paper millions or whatever, and like just being swept up in the thing. I always think of that part of like my life, and kind of being part of this like music and arts scene in Athens, Georgia in the late 80s, and hanging out with rock stars and other like kind of people with fame, and 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 just having fun and partying, and being feeling significant in all of that, was my, and drinking was an important part of that. Like I was just drunk constantly, and drunk in that teenage way where you don't know what you're doing yet, and you're always trying to get drunk, and then you're like way too drunk and like throwing up in the bushes or whatever, and it's always either one or the other. It seems like it's like that those years.
Sounded like you had arrived. That's what came to
I have
mind.
arrived. In fact, uh, and it progressed wonderfully, and then I'm introduced to cocaine, and that was like, oh my God, you can just like you can drink all night on this stuff. This is amazing. Uh, and some years go on, and I'm not doing anything else. I'm 17 now, 18, and can't keep a job for more than like 3 months, and can barely keep a home, and I'm like moving from one person's couch to another person's couch, and like whoever I'm drinking with every day is where I live, and then that wears thin, and there's some fight or whatever, and I find somebody else to attach myself to, and this goes on for a few years, and then there's I'm in some trouble, and I go to the bar, and the guy at the bar tells me that the sheriffs were here asking for me by name, and there's a romance problem that's happening concurrently, and I kind of like flipped out and was like, dude, I got to get out of here, and move to the French Quarter in New Orleans. I got a friend to drive me to New Orleans. I had like, I think $150 and a gram of cocaine on it. Was all I had, and went and got a job in a diner in the French Quarter and worked as the night cook at this French Quarter all night diner. And that was amazing. It was an amazing twist of luck. I think had I been like not committed to a job in the wee hours in the French Quarter, I probably would not have survived the 6 or 8 months that I was there. But because I had to go to work at this diner between 11 and 7 a.m., and I did my drinking and partying between 7 a.m. and 2 p.m., I survived the French Quarter. My girlfriend, I was dating this woman. She was sober in AA. I don't know. I'm not sure what she was doing with me, but there we were. And her brother, who was also sober in AA, comes to visit from San Diego, takes one look at me, and is like, God, you need to get sober. And and soon he's taken me to an AA meeting, and I all of a sudden remember what AA was. It's like, oh right, it's this thing, and here we are, and by now it's like this idea that I need to do something about this is not a it's not a crazy idea like it was when I was 16. I'm 20 years old now, and in kind of bad shape. And it's pretty clear it's because you drink all the time and you use drugs all the time. You can't put anything together in life. I don't know that I understood alcoholism the way I understood it now at all, but I knew you have problems because of your drinking. And when this very charismatic and happy, joyous and free guy puts in front of me, hey, dude, your life doesn't have to be like this. Like you can be okay. There was something compelling about that. And we went to AA, and I grabbed hold of it and worked Mardi Gras for a couple of weeks. And Mardi Gras is this huge event, the French Quarter, where if you're in the service industry, you get tipped heavily, and like you'll work your butt off for 2 weeks or whatever. But when it's over, there's all this money. My boss hands me an envelope with $1,500 in it. I had never in my life held that much money in my hand. And I bought a ticket to Maui to go to Hawaii and have an experience in the 12 steps. Go have a spiritual experience. You don't have to go to Hawaii to do that, but what do they say there, that like everyone has a direct line to God through prayer, but on Maui it's a local call. This was how they said it. And there's probably something kind of true about that. But I went to Maui. I went to Kihei Morning Serenity and asked the man there if he would sponsor me, and began working the 12 steps and showing some commitment to, like, God, I got to do AA. And that was a long time ago. I don't remember all of it, but I remember sitting in his car and reading something like an inventory, and I remember writing letters to people that I hadn't talked to in a long time, and sending money to people that I owed money to, and doing something in the realm of making amends to others. So I'm pretty sure I did the 12 steps, 21 years old or whatever, and had this like sober 12 step experience on Maui. And that was about 1994, I guess, 93, 94.
So what? So you were sober for a brief period, at least, weren't you,
Yep.
John? And then, um, so what happened that where you, uh, or what? Looking back, what do you think happened?
Well, it, mm, I had a I had a job. I got to be the resident manager at the Alano Club in Lahaina. It's this clubhouse where a lot of AA meetings are held, and and in doing like I moved to a different part of the island. I wasn't in that home group where my sponsor was anymore. This is before cell phones and text messages and staying in touch all the time. And um, I'm like, a poor kid with no phone of my own. So it's my staying in touch with the sponsor is like calling and leaving a voicemail during the day while he's at work, and then not even being anywhere near that phone until tomorrow or whatever. So and I think I kind of felt like having having worked these steps and having made these amends and having gotten to this place where like things are coming back together in my life that had fallen apart, like I'm kind of good. Like I mean, what do I need to do? I need to like go to AA meetings and like hang out with my friends, and like that's what I see everybody else doing. And cool. I mean, this is what to do. And so I set about doing that. And and I mean, it was fine. I don't There's probably kind of like deeper digging that could have been done to I spiritually, I guess, or emotionally or whatever. I in hindsight, I can see all of these like kind of gaps in what I was doing or exploring or internally or whatever. Um, but at the time I didn't. I'm sober now, and it's like it's great, and it's like fine, and problem solved. And with that attitude, I moved to the North Shore where the surf was big in the winter because I wanted to surf big waves, and I didn't have a car, so I needed to live kind of close to where the big waves were so I could ride my bike. And when I moved, there wasn't really I didn't have my AA community there, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, I gotta go find the AA. And so on Tuesday night or whatever, for the 8 o'clock meeting at this church up the hill, I sat out on my bicycle, and it's dark with wind driven rain, riding my bike up this very narrow, windy mountain road, uphill, with cars coming down the hill at me and like not seeing me until it was just like it was scary. I did that 2 times, and after the second time, it was like, dude, you're gonna die like trying to get to the AA meeting. Like you gotta find something you can walk to or whatever. And there wasn't anything, but there was this church group that it was like this young people's missionary thing in the town, and they were all very God oriented and super spiritual and praying, and they had their little meeting and their gathering, and they had the social community. And it just occurred to me, like, you can do this. I mean, like, it's important that you try to make an effort to stay connected to a higher power. uh, that's what's helping you. Like, these people are doing that, do it with them. And so I kind of fell in with this crowd, and uh, one of them had a birthday, and his friend bought him a 6 pack of craft beer. And like, beer was a very rare thing for these people, like maybe once a year or whatever. But they were going to have their yearly birthday 6 pack of beer, and asked me, "Hey, meet us." And I drank a beer with one of them, and it was just that. It was a beer, um, and it was fine. So fine, I probably did it again 2 nights later. Might have had two that night, and then went to church on Sunday, and that was fine. And within 4 months, within 3 or 4 months, people from church are coming and like knocking on my door to check on me and see if I'm okay. And I'm like hiding in my room and not answering the door, like hungover or drunk. and have just kind of reverted into drinking the way that I always drink, just like nothing else really matters. I did enough work to keep my job so that I would have money to pay my rent, so that I would have a place to drink and alcohol to drink. And I don't surf anymore. I don't see anyone anymore. I just am hanging out drinking and getting stoned every day. And I do that for years. And it's I go to speaker meetings and I hear stories, and this is the story of alcoholism. Alcoholics can't control their drinking, and the loss of control. When I was confronted with that and told, like, you can't control your drinking, I thought, well, that's silly. I mean, I go buy a handle of vodka at the liquor store, and I make it last 3 or 4 days. I I only go out to the bar 2 nights in the middle of the week instead of all 5. Like, I have some constraints around my drinking, and those constraints are I am in control. But and it just kind of eluded me that, well, even when you know that you shouldn't drink at all, you drink again. And when you drink again, drinking slowly and gradually encroaches into every area of your life and displaces everything, and becomes the most important operative thing of your life, and the only thing that you're interested in, and basically all you do. And that's not really, um, it's not serving you like you are serving it. I mean, that's pretty clear. And anyway, it got that way, and somehow I got married. I like only in alcoholic land would the scenario that I just described to you lead to a marriage. But I've listened to enough AA stories to understand that scenarios like that in our lives lead to things like marriages. and, and it did for me. And about a year later, we have a episode as a result of my drinking, where it becomes really clear that, like, this is not compatible with you drinking. Like, if you drink, this is all going to be over and you'll be out on the streets. And I didn't want that, and kind of tucked my tail and went to an AA meeting and stopped drinking, because of the training that I had had. When you get real bad with the drinking, you have to go to AA. That's what I've internalized about AA at this point. So off I go to AA, and three 7 a.m. meetings a week ought to do it. And I'll go, and uh I'll clean the ashtrays when they ask me to, and I'll make the coffee, and I'll be a participant in this thing. By now, there's some I'm like closing in on 30, and I'm married, and my marriage is not good, and I think and feel all kinds of really strong things, most of it negative, really angry, uh, really unhappy, and don't I'm not really interested in talking about that. So I don't want to be seen that way. There's people ask me, "Hey, well, how you doing?" I'm fine. And I'm like, fine. And I spent a few years going to AA and just being fine. Um, and I don't know, I guess, and I didn't drink. And then my first daughter is born. I've changed careers. I've got, we moved to Georgia from Maui to kind of set, it seemed like a better place to raise children than Hawaii. Um, started started a different career, really threw myself into training and kind of progressing in that career, and focused on that and focused on that and focused on that, and didn't drink. And I went to the AA meetings in Georgia. I didn't like them at all. I stopped going to the AA meetings. We go to a church. I don't drink. I go to church, I go to my job. My mental and emotional and personality health are declining and just kind of spiraling downward. And and I don't drink, and the not drinking is the goal. And if I'm not drinking, and drinking is the problem, I should be fine. And it's just incomprehensible to me that this isn't just fine. What is your problem? And it's like this other feature of alcoholism. I got some orientation to that, like I can't control my drinking. When I drink, I just drink out of control. When I don't drink, my life becomes just intolerable. And I somebody prior to this had probably tried to explain it to me this way, or tried to show me in the big book how this is like what alcoholism is, but I didn't know. I don't know. I hadn't really understood that yet. Um, and if you're thinking, oh, he's going to drink again, like it happened, and when it did, it was life saving. I mean, it was like opening a pressure relief valve on a boiler that was about to explode. And and I drank. My drinking progressed exactly like it always does. It took exactly the same path that it always takes. Um, and and I kind of lost everything. My wife left me and took the kids. I took a leave of absence from the job that was the career that I had wanted all of my life, and couldn't really go back in this condition, and just didn't want to anyway. And now I'm like, I'm alone. I don't have any support from anyone. I've lost this job. Uh, I had to move to Atlanta and don't really know anybody here, and am just like living to drink. And that went on for about 6 or 8 months, and then I had this crisis where the woman I was dating refused my calls, and my employer terminated my employment on the same day. And on that day, it was just there's not enough vodka to drink today. Like, I can't. This Things have been so bad, and they are so bad. There is not enough liquor to drink. I can't reconcile life anymore. I'm done, man. Um, I think in some way I knew that I was going to have to get sober. I've been through this before enough times that I knew that's the kind of the eventuality. I but I had this idea that, like, if you go to AA and do AA in a way where AA will work for you, they're gonna make you do stuff, and the first thing they're gonna make you do is reconcile with your wife. You'll have to get back together with her. And I was so opposed to that idea. That's like, I'd rather die drunk than go avail myself of a solution that requires me to get back together with my wife. I was so angry and so determined to have life the way that I wanted life, that I couldn't do it until the day that I could. And on that day it was like, dude, I don't care whatever happens. I've I can't live like this anymore. And I went to an AA meeting. That was September 24th, 2012. This lifelong process of trying to find AA, like in and out of AA since before I had my first drink, 15 years old. And here I wind up at AA, and that's how this started.
So what was what was like your first step towards recovery this time? Like, what was different?
Um, uh, the AA meeting I went to, I chose because it was close to my house. And that was the only criteria that I considered. It was like location and time of day. And our meeting directories sort of that's the only information you have. Like, it's funny, like with restaurants or any other thing that you might go do, you've got all this information and user reviews and like all kinds of inputs that you can use to choose like where you're going to go eat or get your car washed or your oil changed or anything else. But with AA, all you get is the address and the time, and like whether it's Spanish speaking or some like real modest details like that. So naturally, I picked a meeting that's like close to my house, and probably you and most of your listeners recognize that all AA meetings are not the same. The one that I went to um, was what happened. There, it was small. Okay, there were 6 or 7 people there. The 6 or 7 people there had been abstinent from alcohol for a long time, like decades. They knew each other very well. They did not really acknowledge or speak to me or greet me or kind of participate with me in any way when I showed up. I came in and I sat alone on the couch while the 5 of them stood on the other side of the room talking to each other. And at the time, that didn't seem abnormal to me. When I look back on it, I'm like, what the hell was happening at that AA meeting? Eventually, there was this one guy who went to that meeting occasionally, and he started talking to me, and he just started talking to me and asking me questions, and then I asked him if he would help me, and he said, yeah, meet me here like an hour early next week. And so we sat in a little garden behind the church and talked, and I told him all about this idea that I had, that like I can't do this because like I know that y'all are going to make me go back to my wife, and I don't want to be in that marriage anymore, and like I this isn't going to work for me. I said this to him, and he looked at me like I had 2 heads and was just like, dude, what are you on? Like, how do you how do you know, like, what makes you think that? And I didn't really know. Like, I don't know. I've got some idea that religious people impressed on me when I was 8 years old that has within it this requirement that you not divorce. And I don't even know, like, what I don't know. But I know that it's true. And he was like, why don't you? He helped me see that, like, you're y- you came up with an idea when you were 8 years old, and it is ruling your life right now. Like, maybe you could be open to revising your ideas about this stuff as an adult. And when he said that, it was so obvious and so like, yeah, duh. Like, who would go ask an 8-year old, hey, tell me what I must do with my life? Like, nobody would do that, but in effect, that's what I'm doing. And he just said it like that, and it illuminated how nuts it is that like I have this just maybe my idea was not wrong. Okay, like, I'm not saying that the idea that like you should stay married when you're married is a wrong idea. Like, that's not that. But the amount of attachment that I had to what must happen in my life right now, and it must, and if it doesn't, you're going to make me, and just all of this attachment about it was completely unfounded and and dominating my life. And that he illuminated that just in that little talk. He asked me. He said, did you find like stone tablets carved with these words on your front porch or something? And it's like, no. It's, well, why, what makes you think that God demands this or whatever? Like, has he told you as much? And I'm like, well, no. And I don't know. That began the like the real journey of AA, which is the journey of coming to see that I am probably wrong about most everything. And I had never in my life done that or considered that. been open to the possibility of that. Every episode that I've shared with you prior to my trips to AA were, okay, I see what's going on here. I know what this is. I see how this can help me. I will let it help me the way that I know that it can help me. I'll be helped by it and I'll be fine. Like, that's the story of me trying to get sober in 1992, in 2003, and in 1987 or whatever. It's like, it's the same kind of thing, and that's not what I've learned, that's not quite what happens here, and that's not what it's described in the big book. And anyway, that conversation kind of began that process, and so soon I'm like, okay, well maybe it'll be okay. Like, maybe I can quit drinking and be helped and be okay. Well, maybe this will be good. And I was like, well, if it's going to be good, I got to find a different AA meeting to go to. This one is like sleepy and lame. I mean, I need like something better than this. And so I asked him, I was like, what meeting should I go to? Like, I want to go to the good meeting, like the one that's like, the exciting one where the people are like recovering, like, I don't think I knew quite how to say it, but something like, where's the AA meeting that takes itself a little too seriously? And that was how I got introduced to my home group. My home group is the Fifth Tradition group in Atlanta, and I went there, and there were 100 happy, sorted out, recovered alcoholics who, as they shared bits and pieces about their life, it became really clear, you are a bad, bad alcoholic, and like, your life looks nothing like what mine does, and you're succeeding at all of the things that I have failed at, and are happy about it. And what is happening here? Like, this is remarkable. I'd never seen like that large a crowd. And we have a Thursday night book study and a Saturday night speaker meeting. And at the book study, everybody who shares about their experience in the literature is telling the same story. Everyone's sharing in unison. I got a sponsor. I worked the 12 steps. It's in the book. After I had done that, I began sponsoring other people and sharing this experience with them. Completely changed my life. And here's how. And everybody says the same thing. And I don't think I had ever really been part of a group where it was that unanimously. Maybe it was like that, and I just selected the meetings that I went to in the 90s. Maybe the culture of AA was different in the 90s. Like, I'm not sure what the mismatch is, because I only have my experience. But I remember AA being factions. All right. And like, at the group, there's the big book people, and there's the Jesus people, and there's the, I don't really care about any of this, I'm just here because I have to be people. And there's the young people. And each of these groups is kind of having this completely different experience, right? And you'll hear different things and different suggestions from different members of those factions. That's how I remember AA being when I went earlier. Here, it's remarkable unity. Like, every single person is singing out of the same hymn book, and it's the same message, and it's the same story from everybody. And something about that was very compelling and powerful. And I found the loudest, biggest personality in that bunch, and asked him if he would help me. He said, yeah. And then I started like just telling him all about my life. And he was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Just stop. Okay. Here's what I want you to do. Here's these 3 guys that I sponsor. I want you to call them every day. And we have our meetings here. There's 3 meetings a week. You commit to coming to all of those. And then call me every day or 2. And get on your knees every morning and pray. And that's what I want you to do. And in spite of everything that I just told you about how I want to be helped, and I can see that this can help me, he shares those 3 things with me. He's minor little things. And I immediately began objecting to them. I'm like, I'm not calling that guy. I see whose number you just gave. I don't like that guy. I'm not talking to him. And you want me here on at all of these meetings? Well, I mean, I'll come to some of them, but like this woman I'm dating might not have her kids on Saturday. And if she doesn't have her kids, I'm not going to be at this AA meeting. I'll be hanging out with her. So, I mean, I'll do some of this, but like there's some of it that I just can't do. I've got like, and it was like that. I've since sponsored scores of people who have kind of the same thing and realize that there's a process of kind of coming to understand like the severity of the problem, and that the solution is kind of abandonment to the whole thing. And abandonment means I don't get to pick and choose the pieces of it that I'm comfortable with or that I like or that I want to or whatever. That like if you want to avail yourself of the solution, here it is, avail yourself. And that might mean that it has to displace some other things that you would rather be doing on Thursday night or whatever. But like, dude, do you want the help or don't you? And so it was a bit of a process for us to kind of go back and forth negotiating about these things. And somehow it came to a head, and I cooperated and just realized, oh, you've got to do it. And I did it. And when I did it, I got these profound results. And everything began to change like in a moment. And somehow that was enough convincing that it was like, okay, well, whatever the next thing to do, I won't argue about it. I'll just do it, And I did. And then I kind of did that. And then some of the suggestions just got way stupid. Like when he told me you need to go on Tuesday morning to the DeKalb County Jail and get fingerprinted so that you can have a volunteer badge and you can start going to the jail meetings. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, do you see me? Like, I'm the last person in the world who needs to be going to the jail and like trying to proselytize AA to the inmates at the jail. Like I'm you don't have video. I'm like a middle-aged white guy software engineer. I'm not a jailhouse minister at all, like not remotely. I have no street cred with jail people. This is the dumbest idea that you have come up with yet. Let's do something else. And he's laughs and is like, no, seriously, just go. And kind of by now I'm in the, you know what, I've been cooperating, and the cooperating is so okay. This makes no sense to me and seems stupid, but okay. So have the other things, and it's worked. So I do it. And then I started going to the jail every 4 or 6 weeks or whatever on Wednesday nights, and it's enormous pain in the ass. Like the parking is so far away, and half the times it's raining, and you have to walk in the rain. But you can't bring an umbrella because you got to go through the metal detector when you get there. So you can't bring anything except your big book. And then you got to wait in line at the metal detector, and there's no one there to let you in. And then you buzz, and there's no one to open any door. And it takes like an hour to get from your car to the place where the meeting is held. It's awful. It smells. It seems dangerous. Everybody's unfriendly. It's not, there's nothing good about it. It is a bad way to spend a Wednesday night. But I started going every 6 weeks. Me and another guy from the home group go to the jail meeting for years until COVID, like from 2014 or 15 until COVID is when it stopped. It becomes a feature of my sober life. And I don't know when it happened. I don't think I was aware. It was one of these things in AA that happened that I looked back and realized that at some point something has happened here. I don't think I ever helped a single jail person get sober or stay sober, ever. Like, the jail people strike me as cons who are not try to be honest about anything and to humor the AA people to have an AA meeting, and that's mostly what it is. I didn't never helped anybody, but I didn't know this was happening while it happened. But I was becoming one of the like 5% men in my home group. All the men in my home group, about 5% of them have their name on the corrections list and have a corrections badge and are going to the jail. Most of them don't, but about 5% do. And we did it together. And we were like the men in the home group who actually go and do the hard shit. And this led to mutual respect with my peers. And when it happened, it occurred to me, never in my life have I felt mutual respect with my peers. Never. I have spent my entire life feeling less than and looked down upon and weaker than you and poorer than you and like just not one of you. And the weight of living like that is heavy. And finally, and it's gone. It's lifted. It's gone. It's gone. Like that is gone. I don't have that anymore. I am like one of you. And it came as a result of following this seemingly idiotic suggestion that I never would have done if someone didn't make me, you know. I love that story because that's how AA works. That story is just that's how everything in AA works. It doesn't make any sense. It seems like the wrong thing to do. It doesn't seem like the thing that's going to help me. The result I get isn't the result that I was looking for when I went and did whatever the thing was, but somehow what winds up actually happening is better than anything that you could have like sought to get out of that experience. And you just have to do it to have it. Like there's no other way to see what's going to happen. You just have to do it. And that's been how it is here, like up to and since then.
That's so well said, John. You know that, especially like, you know, the results are never what we intend them. They're usually better, you know, if we just do some simple things that are asked of us. So what would you say to someone who may be out there listening, who might be feeling hopeless about their addiction today? Any suggestions?
Well, God, if you're listening to this, then you have found this thing. And all you need to do is like scroll through the podcast listing or whatever to see that this story that I'm telling is only one of dozens or hundreds of different versions of the same story. People who were as bad off as you and who are now not bad off. And I if someone is stubborn and arrogant and self-assured and not needing help from anyone, as me, can have the experience in AA that I have had and stop drinking and stay stopped and then continue to follow enough of the suggestions to stay stopped, surely anyone can. All right, like anyone can. God, if you don't believe me, listen to another story. It's okay. There's somebody who's not quite like me who's had a similar experience and can tell it in their words. And I don't know if you may feel hopeless. It feels bad to be all strung out, and it feels like I know that hopeless feeling. Take a Go to an AA meeting and look for that guy who will come and sit next to you and just ask you how you're doing. And when he asks you, tell him how you're doing. Get his number and call him the next day.
That's great suggestions, John. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you wanted to share?
Well, I mean, I don't know. We're at an hour already. It's like that's a lot of talking. I guess you kind of got me going. I started carrying on, didn't I? Um, I'm the speaker chair for my group this year, and my group has a big Saturday night speaker meeting, and the speaker chair is the person whose job it is to book and schedule the speakers. Um, and so it's had me considering and thinking about AA talks and AA stories probably more intentionally than I have in years past, and paying attention to the stories, and I keep running into this theme. I was just thinking about how there's these like eras in the sober life of a person, and years 1 to 2 are very distinct and different to years 2 to 5, which are very distinct and different from years 5 to 10, which are very different and distinct and kind of characterized by their own things from years 10 to 20 or 20 to 40 or whatever. And it seems like there are these kind of eras or periods, and it changes, and it just becomes kind of a different set of, it's like the same problem and it's the same solution, but it's a different set of sort of manifestations of it, or I'm not sure how to say it. I've just been thinking about that a lot lately, and how as long as you're on the path, you'll see where the path goes. Don't get off the path. Pray, work with others, stay in the middle and part of like AA and what AA is doing, and go through the eras. There will be successes and there will be failures and there will be tragedies and there will be laughter, and it's great and terrible things will happen. And when I give up and throw in the towel and drink, I shut myself off from like all of that, and I began to have like the only experience I can have, which is just drinking in desperation. And there's life over here, and the experience of life is just one not to miss, even through the ups and downs, and as it changes, and as one season gives way to another, and getting older, and like all of the things that come. It's not to be missed, and it's amazing, and it's on the path that we have.
Thank you for that. You know, that when you were talking about the time frames, it's like I heard somebody say it's like we have the sober life cycle. You know, it's kind of what we have, different stages, you know, during our sobriety. If we're fortunate enough to stay sober long enough, one day at a time. And I appreciate you sharing your experience, strength, and hope. But I can't let you go, John, until we do our rapid fire questions.
Okay.
No pressure, sir.
Yeah.
But if you are ready, what is your favorite recovery slogan?
I hate those little things. Yeah, I don't know. My least favorite is think, think, think. That seems like exactly like I see that on the Clubhouse. I'm like, why would you tell an alcoholic to be doing? That's like crazy talk. Like that's exactly the opposite of what you should be doing. I don't know. Is one of them live and let live?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I guess that's my favorite.
Well, it's funny, Jack. I was going to ask you what your least favorite is, but you volunteered that one too, so we're good. What do you think is your sobriety superpower?
God, I mean, just showing up, I guess.
Yeah.
Saying yes, like just saying yes and showing up.
If you could say one thing to your former self, what would it be?
Hmm. God, just tell the truth.
What song do you play to lift your spirits when you need a boost?
Lateralis by Tool.
Nice. If you could grant yourself one wish to help with your recovery, what would it be?
Hmm. That I would have just unbridled courage.
Hmm. What step do you love the most?
12.
What step do you love the least?
10. Or 9.
Both of them. What is one of your favorite movies?
Fight Club.
And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh, glad you made it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you made it to the podcast, John. I really appreciate you sharing your story, and I know it's going to help people. Just a reminder to the audience, a new episode is released every Thursday at noon. You can listen to the show on your favorite podcast apps, Apple, Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, and others. Just search for The Cup of Joe Show. Don't forget the. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share because someone out there needs to hear this today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you so much, John.
Yeah, my pleasure. If anyone hears this and asks you if they can contact me, if I can help them, if they want to talk to me, you feel free to give them my contact info. I'm happy to talk to anybody who thinks that I might be able to help.
I will
try
do
to help anyone.
Thank you, John.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
what John, the fifth dimension, I know folks who have shared in that meeting, gone to that meeting, attend that meeting, and John is telling you the truth. If you are in Atlanta, Georgia, in that area, go to the fifth dimension. It's a great meeting.
So
fifth tradition. Sorry.
We're the best group in America.
There you go. Thank you, John.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
It's just a laid-back vibe, baby.
We hope you enjoyed today's Experience, Strength, and Hope. We are so grateful you decided to join us. Please share this episode with someone who might need it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, no matter where you are in your recovery journey, you are not alone. Reach up and reach out to someone. Please do not suffer in silence. Until next time, let's take it 1 minute, 1 hour, and 1 day at a time. Thanks for listening to the Cup of Joe Show.